I want to say thank you again for hopping on the call with me.
Happy to join you, Keith.
So my first question to start out with is, in Southie, the most common thing is you don't want to leave, you want to stay there. When did you realize I want to get out of the city and become an actor?
Well, I guess that decision was made for me, at least the first part of it. My mother moved us out of South Boston in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
I was 12, almost 13, and she took us to Phoenix, Arizona for hopefully a better life.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the D Street projects, probably not the ideal situation for a kid or kids or a family. Not that the people are terrible. It's just the economic situation can be somewhat depressing, I suppose. And she made a better life for her and for her family. So good for my mom.
Fraser, how do you like a move in that transition from Southie to Phoenix?
Well, I didn't like it when I was a kid because I missed all my friends. The one thing about that neighborhood, there was always someone to play with, whether
Yeah.
you want to play stickball or street hockey or just hang out on the stoop, talk about things, about growing up, about anything at all, about Boston sports, about the neighborhood. Kids were everywhere all the time. Then I moved to what was at that time a sleepy little town called Phoenix, Arizona, 600,000 people in 1975, something like that. Now they're 10, 12 million. I don't know what it is now. So I missed my friends. And believe it or not, I missed the hustle, the bustle, the noise, the excitement, even as a 12-year-old, only because that's what I was used to. But she did the right thing, and I'm glad she did.
Yeah, Phoenix definitely a much different place than South Boston over there for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going from right by the water in Boston to the desert. You're going from a lot of people to a very few. You're going to a city that's clearly been there forever to one that has not. There are a lot of things, a lot of ethnicities in Boston, a lot of ethnic neighborhoods. Phoenix at the time was just Phoenix. I mean, it was wonderful though. After a while, I really got used to it. I really got to enjoy the peace and quiet, the solitude that was Phoenix in the 70s. And then of course it grew exponentially over time. And now it's just a great big metropolitan, wonderful city.
Would you say Phoenix is the big reason why you where you are right now?
Well, I'm in Phoenix now. I go back and forth between here and LA because I came here in November of 2017 to start chemo treatments. I was diagnosed with cancer. So that's why I'm here as much as I am. I visit my family and several friends that I'm lucky to have here. But of course, the business is in LA. So I try to be in LA as much as I can.
For sure. I want to say I saw congratulations 1 year cancer free. Congratulate you on that.
Yeah, they my doctor finally said that you are in remission, which is what every cancer survivor wants to hear, right? Doesn't mean you're cancer free the rest of your life, but just right now. And right now is a really important time. This moment, right
Yeah,
here, when you live in the moment, then you're grateful for everything. And right now, I'm grateful that I'm doing okay.
it's very true. Always live in the moment. Do you always live by that motto?
I try to. I'm not sure that I accomplish it all the time. I'm only human,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's very important to, if you can, to live in the moment. And for me, what that means is taking this right here, this this moment between you and me. We're doing your podcast. You have me on as a guest, and we're talking about things that you find interesting. And you're asking questions that you think are important, that people who watch your show might find interesting. And for me, it's being present in paying attention to you and really giving you full, complete, honest, thorough answers, as opposed to worrying about what I'm going to do for lunch or the friends I'm going to run into later on or things from my past when you wander off. Not that it's bad to daydream or to dream of the future if that's what you're setting out to do. But when you're with someone, I think the greatest gift you could give them is your full attention, your time, and who you are honestly and truly. And to me, that's what living in the moment is.
Very true. Important part. You said that 20 years ago? Did you say you kept that same motto?
I don't know that I did 20 years ago. I don't know when I developed it,
Mm-hmm.
probably from all the wise people I'm lucky enough to come across in my life. I think maybe I had the idea, the concept of it, but I probably didn't practice it like I do now.
I hear you saying with that. Do you have any mentors that stuck out with you?
I think there are a lot of people in my life that push me a little further down the road. Uh, there are a lot of people in not just acting or hosting, just in my life. And I think that's even more important because if you're not centered as a person, if you're not grounded, if you have lost your way, one wrong decision or distracted decision
That is
or
very
ill-informed decision can change your whole life, can change the path you're on forever and permanently. So I think to have life mentors much more important than in the business. Although those are helpful too. There's not one particular person outside of my mother, my grandmother. They were the most influential, and others I've been lucky enough to call friends. Others took a time to offer a kind word or maybe some direction. Like with this, you're a 17-year-old kid who has great dreams of doing what you want to do, sports journalism, etc. And you reached out, and I'm happy to sit with you.
Thank you for that. When did you realize you wanted to do a path in acting?
I guess ever since I was a little kid, it's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to do it. Growing up in the projects, there's not a lot of mentors, as you say, for acting. There's not a lot of people who are acting there. And I was a shy kid, so I don't know. I didn't know who to ask or how to ask. And also I didn't believe in myself. So it took a while to find that.
When did you realize that you're like, all right, I'm gonna completely join the path. I'm gonna full in and acting.
I don't know. I moved to Las Vegas in, I don't know, 93, I guess. And I decided to answer a call in a newspaper, auditions for a play. So I just went on it and they gave it to me. And that's when I knew that's what I was going to do the rest of my life.
That's good. Was there any specific film in the beginning where you're like, I love this, I love acting?
I think watching a film and enjoying it is different than knowing that you can do that craft or be in it. So I don't think films necessarily probably led me to my career path, although I enjoyed that. I wanted to be a part of it, true, absolutely. But you know that cinema is fantasy, it's art. People put it together. And if you're lucky enough to do good projects and to be with people you admire and you want to work with, that's great. But I don't think I saw one film and said, now I want to be an actor, because I was a little kid. So I remember having the dream before any particular film. There was a TV show, a miniseries, which was novel at the time, called QB7, Queen's Bench is what it stood for, the QB, with Anthony Hopkins and Ben Gazzara. And I was mesmerized as a little kid about this adult entertainment, this project that was so intense. And I guess it held my attention as a little kid. And I wanted to know what that is. And I asked people and they said, that's acting. And then, of course, Batman and Robin. Who doesn't want to be either Batman or Robin? I guess always Batman. Some bad kids in the neighborhood wanted to be the villains, I guess. But I think that more than a film, the fantasy of escapism and I guess the idea of being someone else at the time made me want to do it.
That's very good to hear. Any actors that you were like, I want to resemble them?
You know, that's the thing. Yes, of course. The answer is yes. You watch movies and you say, wow, what a great actor. You see Dustin Hoffman and this virtuoso performance in something like Rain Man and so many others, and De Niro in Raging Bull, which is a movie that really moved me as a kid. Al Pacino, of course, was just fantastic. Maybe our greatest living actor, and someone I was lucky enough to share the stage and screen with. Sean Penn, Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett, Kate Capshaw. There are so many wonderful. Kate Winslet, covering all the Kates, I suppose. Jodie Foster. There are just so many of them that are really great. And in television now, it used to be thought of that actors came from films and just did television, and TV actors weren't as good. But now I think they're just all wonderful. And it's great to be a part of that industry.
You're talking about sharing the stage with Al Pacino. Is there anybody specifically that you're working with and you're like, this person is one of the best at the job? No, no question.
Yeah, Pacino, just to watch him, just to see what he does every day and how he does it, and think, oh, that's great. Because a lot of people do interpretations when they're on stage or on camera of their favorite actors. And I think that's a mistake. Instead of trying to copy them, seek out what they sought, because they're artists first and foremost. And I think I've watched television, some film, and I say, oh, he's doing an impersonation of a particular actor that that you're familiar with. But listen, I'm no great actor. What do I know? I just know that I'd rather be myself trying to interpret a role than try to do it like someone else would, I guess.
You're saying one of the great films I saw you in was Saving Private Ryan. How was it being a part of that crew?
Well, I wasn't in Saving Private Ryan. Actually, when I was starting out as a kid, as a young actor, let's say not a kid really, a friend of mine was involved in this spoof movie called Saving Ryan's Privates. So it was a funny comedic takeoff on the original. And Mark DiCarlo, a great actor, was in it. I played the part of Ed Burns from the original, but it was just a funny, goofy little thing. But several people have seen that and said the same thing, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, how was it? Did you enjoy filming that short film?
Yeah, man, I like doing anything. I like just to be able to practice the craft. I think is a wonderful gift, no matter what it is. I'm not so lucky that I can choose my scripts and my projects. I'm happy to take a look at it, and if they want me to be a part of it, most of the time I say yes, because it's wonderful practice of the craft, and I enjoy the camaraderie. I enjoy learning lines and interpreting roles.
Is there any specific film that you thought was the hardest one that he filmed?
Hard, difficult in what way? I mean, plays are certainly difficult in the amount of words or lines you have to remember, but also they're the most gratifying because you get the immediate impact from the audience, the response right away that night. There's no cut, take two, moving on. Nothing like that. You do it, it's out there, it's done. And never again will that interpretation, that performance exist. That's what I love about live theater. But it's certainly labor intensive, learning all the lines, rehearsing, blocking it, everything.
Did you start out doing any live theater in the beginning?
Yeah, that's how I started doing it. I like I said, I walked into this audition, they gave it to me, and then at that moment, I said, this is all I'm gonna do the rest of my life, if I'm lucky enough to do so.
That's amazing. Two here. Is there anybody specific later on in your career that you just had a pact with it? If he asked me to be in a movie, I would do it. No question.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people. There are a lot of people under the radar that I admire that not many people would know, because either they're wonderful artists and I like the way they approach it, or they're really good people. And which is just as important to me, if not more so, that you see someone out there doing good works in the community, volunteering when they don't have to, or donating their time, their resources, speaking out against injustice, wanting to make this a better place for all of us in which to be. So whether it's a man or a woman, an actor, an actress, you see them and you say, I admire them as a person. I would like to be in their hemisphere. And if they're doing a project, it'd be great to be with them just for who they are.
Yeah, I give you the same with that. Always, how important you say once you started off making connections were.
Being connected to the work?
And making connections to people in the industry.
Oh, networking and things like that? Yeah. Well, I've been told by my friends, and enough of them, so I believe them, that I'm really bad at networking. So I don't know even what that means, how you're supposed to do it. You talk to someone, you let them know you're an actor, you let them know you're available, or as a host, hey, I'm out of a job right now. Is that what you say? I don't know. I think if you're a genuine person and you want to be around people, not for what they can do for you, but who they are and how they make you feel, I think that's the rule across the board of life. and then the work will come, or it won't. But I don't think that sucking up to people or kissing their ass or saying, oh, I want to know that person because they're powerful or they're important is going to do much for your career, or certainly not for your life. I don't think it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah, you're saying with that, it's got to be yourself, and everything will come with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I know everybody says that and it sounds like a slogan or an anthem, but I think it is important. And the older I get, I didn't know that when I was your age, of course, but I think the older you get, you realize that there's really nothing more outside of that than being true to yourself.
That is very true. Is there any films that you said was your favorite to be a part of?
Well, and I did this television show called Booze Traveler on Travel Channel.
Mhm.
And for me, that was life changing for me in that I got to see the world. I traveled to, I don't know, high 50s, low 60s as far as amount of countries, but the people that I was able to sit down with and absorb their cultures and see not only the geography, the topography of where I was, but really get to know them, to see them, not just for a couple of minutes. We'd spend a couple of weeks in each location, and to do that for 4 years, I just think that that was the greatest gift, I guess, that anyone could have given me as far as an on-screen experience.
Did you always have the idea of booze travel, or did somebody come to you about it?
Yeah, it's not my idea at all. All I did was walk into an audition, and they were crazy enough to give it to me. And the only thing crazier than that would be me to say no.
Yeah.
So I did it and had the time of my life.
Did you ever really travel the globe before that?
No, I never did. I did some traveling. You know, I've been to Europe, Mexico, and Canada, a few places, but not like that. I don't know how anyone could have really traveled to 60 or so countries before that. I mean, there are a bunch of them, I'm sure, but not many people I think have seen that many countries. And I got to do it in the context of a job, quote, end quote, but it was no job for me. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds like about any countries that were some of your favorites to visit.
Well, I had a really great experience in most of them, but in Sicily, I was able to bring my mother there and to meet family that I'd never met, that we were actually blood relation, same last name as my mother's maiden name. And to see that reunion was a gift. I just love that. Ireland, because I'm also Irish, but not just about me, just about the people and learning about it. There's so many things I think you can learn from travel. It really opens your eyes. And you can go to the same place once, twice, three times and have three different experiences based on the people that are there. So really, to say a favorite, I have favorite things about each country, like the favorite food, drink, experience, the beautiful land or what have you. But there are very few places that I didn't have a great experience. Let me put it that way.
That's great to hear. Is there any cultures that shocked you from your first album?
Yeah, I think a lot of them. You know, we hear about so many things offhand or secondhand that turn out not to be true. I mean, the Maasai warriors in Tanzania, they're just really sweet, nice, caring people. But all you hear is Maasai warrior. I don't know that there've been too many in-depth looks at that, or certainly none that I've been associated with that get to know who they are. So I didn't have any idea of what they would be. Sumo wrestlers in Japan, these big, strong, scary guys, and they seem to be very quiet, but they had such a great sense of humor, and we joked around and played all day, and it was really nice. And they played jokes on me. It was nice to see the humanity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. In any culture that I sit down with, any people, in Lapland, Finland, they were just so really, excuse me, was it Norway? That they were just so funny. And I think that's the thing that translates best of all, sense of humor around the world. Even if you don't speak their language, you can see how they enjoy mirth with a little twinkle in their eye, because I think that's what keeps us sane, isn't it? A sense of humor and knowing that we have a positive attitude about things. Otherwise, you could really get yourself depressed, especially in the last year with COVID and all of that. But I think people with a sense of humor that take things a little lighter than most probably do the best in life.
We're talking about sumo wrestlers with a sense of humor. Then do they know how to speak English?
Most of them did not, but a couple of them did. And as a matter of fact, they fooled me on this too. I was joking around with them. I was surrounded by them at this table, and they were drinking. So we were all drinking sake and eating sushi and everything else. And one of them was joking around with me. I said, "Look at you, you big bull elephants, you." And one of them said, who I didn't think spoke English. He said, "Who you call an elephant?" And we just, I'm so sorry. We cracked up and laughed, and it was just wonderful because the whole time he understood what I was saying, but he was playing coy.
That's crazy. Did you ever attempt to learn another language?
Sure. I think that's an important thing, to be able to communicate in a way that another person can understand you best. And that starts, of course, with their language. So I learned a few phrases in a bunch of different languages just to bridge the divide just a little bit more, because I was a guest in their country. I was there learning about them. I was asking them to give to me their food, friends, family, their drinks, their time even, and whatever else that they could share with me. So I thought the least I could do is learn a little bit about what they do and who they are, including the language.
Very great thing. Any language that was your favorite to learn?
I don't know that there's a favorite. I'm probably not good in any of them. You know, I think it was important to learn not only the words, but also the accent, the way to say it, the dialect, the affectation, I suppose, like, and not do a caricature, because I first did, like in Russian, I said, it's Здравствуйте, как дела? Hi, how are you? Что нового? What's new? Ничего, nothing. Хорошо, спасибо. Is good, thank you. And the yourself, пожалуйста, не за что. But I was doing it earlier. I was doing too much. Пожалуйста, не за что. You know, a little too caricature, and that could be an insult if you do it that way. And Italian, of course, Sicilian specifically, because I was going there. It was, you know, you learn to say nice things in Romance languages, like che faccia bella, like what a beautiful face, or non c'è una donna questa modo più bella di te, i dei tuoi occhi sono come due stelle, una piacere, it's a pleasure, una piacere di vederla un'altra volta, it'd be a pleasure to see you again, or it is a pleasure to see you again. And France, you say, I don't speak French, you learn to say that in those languages. Or un piacere di vederla un'altra volta is like a pleasure to see you again. The French equivalent would be, I am enchanted to make your acquaintance. And how do I say that? Enchanté de faire votre connaissance. But even other ones, like Korean, you want to say 안녕하세요, hello. 감사합니다 is very important. Thank you. You want to say that in a lot of different languages as well. So I just learned a little bit here and there, including Arabic. Salam, marhaba, kifak, kifalak, kwais, alhamdulillah, disbal khair. So you want to be able to say, I'm coming to your side of the field. I won't meet you just at the 50-yard line, but I really am interested in you and who you are. And I've learned a few words to show that. It's just a token, but at least it's something.
How you say, did any of them ever mess around with you when they speak another language? They're like messing around, teaching you words.
Not that I know of, but that would have been a good joke.
Yeah, for me, I'm trying to learn Spanish. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to get a Spanish minor, because if I get a minor in Spanish, it's always good to know the language.
So let me hear some of your Spanish.
I haven't done any classes yet.
Oh, none.
I decided like 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'm gonna try it. By the time I graduate, I want to know Spanish.
How about just hola, ¿cómo está?
Yeah, I know hola, ¿cómo estás? I think buenas noches, no me gusta, me gusta. I don't know anything crazy.
Gracias. Just hello, how are you, and thank you is enough, right? Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah.
Or ¿cómo está usted? If you want to be more formal, and gracias.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a good start.
That's what I'm hoping with. I'm hoping, because Spanish is always something you can learn.
Sure.
For my next question about the Booze Traveler is, I saw you were able to guest on the Stephen Colbert Show. How was that?
Oh, that was great. The show was doing really well. And I was lucky enough to be a guest on his show. And he actually drank with me on the show, which was real fun. He's a real nice, sweet, open man, very generous with his time. You know, he makes sure the guests get what they want to get to say what they want to say. And he puts the spotlight on them. It's always about them. I just think he's so wonderful at what he does. And it was an honor to be on the show.
Sounds like it's definitely a fun night too. In the beginning of your career too, I'm gonna go back. Do you ever get starstruck by anybody?
I think at some point when I was younger, when I first moved to LA, the first star I saw, I was at a restaurant which no longer exists on Sunset Boulevard called The Source. And I was here, my friend was there, and right over his shoulder was Steve Martin looking up at me from his newspaper, back when people read newspapers more than they do now. Now they're on their phones. And it just seemed so strange to say, wow, that's Steve Martin. And then of course you have a lot of encounters, you kind of get used to it. And then when you're in the business, of course, you don't want to act like a starstruck tourist. Not that there's anything wrong with acting like that, I suppose, if that's truly how you feel. But when you're in the business, it's just a different thing to be able to work with them. You don't want to, you want to be able to perform what they hired you to do. And you can't do that by being starstruck around them all the time. Although sometimes it's almost impossible. When I was working with Al Pacino, it's hard not to look at him and say, wow, this is the guy who has crafted so many wonderful roles and is just so great at what he does. And here I am like this compared to him. So every once in a while I caught myself saying, just do your job, Jack, do your job and stop being awestruck by this wonderful talent.
Is there any point in your career where you're always in the star where family started to become more important than you in your life and you're like, I have to get more involved with family, or was it never a point in your career?
Well, I've never been married, never had kids. It's not anything that I regret not doing. I just think that's the way it worked out.
Mhm.
I think that some people, it's a priority for them. Let's get married, let's have kids. I suppose I would have if I had found the right person to get married and have a family with. And maybe she's still out there, who knows? In the meantime, I was lucky enough to have a lot of friends along the way in all, whether acting or outside of acting. I was able to learn a lot about life through my various relationships, whether they were girlfriends or just friends. And I really don't regret how my life turned out, even having cancer and going through chemo to cure that cancer. I just think you you have to understand where you are right now is where you should be, in the sense that if you're grateful for it, then there's no looking back and saying, I regret this, I should have done this. You can certainly have regrets. Like I said recently on another podcast, they asked me, do I have regrets? I said, yeah, hurting people in my life in whatever way I might have done that. And certainly we all have, whether you've just offended someone or not. I regret that. And I wish I had not, in whatever way, whether I did it on purpose or not. Outside of that, as far as choices I've made, sure, you'd like to think that you'd always make the perfect choice, but that's virtually impossible being a human being. So you move forward, you learn from it, and you make better choices in the future. And again, to be in the moment is to be grateful for what you have and who you are right now.
Yeah, saying you're one of those people that believe in like something like everything happens for a reason.
I don't know if I believe everything happens for a reason, because for me, it's I think whatever happens, you can make something out of. Because I think that's a little too fatalistic for me to believe that it's already pre-planned, that it happens for a reason and you can do nothing about it. Like what's going to happen to you is what's going to happen to you. I mean, I guess in some way, if it's going to rain, it's going to rain, but you make the best of your day, whether it rains or not, right? Or if you twist your ankle or you go the wrong way and you get in a car accident and you say, had I not gone the wrong way, I wouldn't have gotten the car accident. But maybe there's something attached to that will improve your life. Maybe there's some other path you're supposed to go down, or not supposed to, but can make the best out of the path that you, even if you got an offender bender, maybe you'll make a friendship out of it, or maybe you'll learn a lesson or something like that. So I think it doesn't do you any good to say it was meant to be. I don't know if it's meant to be or not. I'm not smart enough to know that. I don't know that the universe sends you signals like that constantly. I know people are always looking for a sign. I think that if you pay attention to the universe in conjunction with who you are and what you want to do, that's probably the best combination, as opposed to just relying on fate.
Yeah, it's very big thing that happened. One question I have is, so when you made the move to Southie to Phoenix, what do you think your life would be if you never moved to Phoenix or stayed in South Boston?
Oh, that's a good question, but hard to determine. I don't know. I might have gotten into trouble, being that, I ran with kids who eventually got into trouble, even though I left when I was 12, almost 13. I
Mhm.
think that the pressures of the neighborhood and peer pressure from older kids that you admire and want to hang around with might have turned me, so to speak. I know that a lot of kids who came from that neighborhood certainly lost their way for at least a period of time, the ones that are still with us, but have now course corrected and are really good people. I'm proud to be from Southie. I think it's a wonderful neighborhood. It certainly was growing up, maybe if not that particular small little area known as the D Street Project, but some of the people were really good salt of the earth people. And you'll learn not to judge people based on their economic conditions. Oftentimes, and I know there are people who disagree, it's not their fault that these situations that people, yes, sometimes it is, of course, but you don't judge a person based on that. And I am lucky enough to say that I still stay in contact with some of the people I went to school with 50 years ago, and I'm lucky to be able to do that.
I actually have my older brother is 2 years older than me. He actually grew up in the D Street Project. He just recently moved out of it, but
Your older brother did?
yeah, brother's 2 years older than me.
How did he grow up in the D Street Projects and you didn't?
Because we had different mothers. So his mom, he stayed with his mother in D Street. That's where he liked to. That's where he stayed
And
for.
so, wait a minute, when did he leave?
That's about a year or two ago.
Oh, so he grew up recently.
Yeah,
Because a couple of years ago, I went there to film, and it looks so different. There's aluminum siding on the building I used to live in, right across from the church down at D Street, where I was an altar boy. But still, it's hey, in one way you could say you're lucky to have a roof over your head, but I don't think I would wish that kind of upbringing on anyone really, because it's a tough adjustment to make. But again, there's nothing I can do about it. It may be who I am, so we move forward.
yeah, it definitely is. The whole city of South Boston is different than how I've ever been. Do you love going back there still?
Yeah, I like going back there for the people. I mean, a lot of it looks the same. Some looks different. That doesn't matter to me. It's nice to walk West Broadway, where I used to shine shoes, for the memories. But I like to go back just to see some old friends. Good for the soul,
Yeah.
Look them up, say hi, have lunch, never forget where you come from, your roots and all. But I like to go back to a lot of places up there, I have to say.
How often do you travel a year?
Well, right now in the pandemic, I haven't flown in over a year, of course. I will be going soon to New York City, and then other places, hopefully. But outside of that, I travel quite a bit during the year. You just never know. I could get, I suppose, a couple of trips in, or maybe as many as 5 or 10.
Any places on your bucket list that you want to go to?
Oh, I've been lucky to cross off a lot of places on my bucket list. I'd like to go back to a few places I visited on Booze Traveler, a couple that I haven't been to. Specifically, I'm not thinking about one particular place because of the coronavirus and what it's done to so many people. The first places on my bucket list are people that I miss. I'll be visiting them wherever they are before I satisfy my own travel goals of going to some place that's on my bucket list.
I hear you saying with that. Do you think a reboot could happen in Booze Traveling in a few years?
I don't think so. I don't own the title. It belongs to Discovery now, who bought that intellectual property, and I guess the physical property from Scripps, who owned a bunch of networks at the time, Travel Channel being one of them. They may reboot it with another host, which they're certainly well within their rights to do. I'll probably move on to something else, but I don't know. I never say never, because you just never know.
That's true. Do you have any plans for the future?
Well, it's to stay healthy, of course, having gone through my cancer and my chemo, and I guess to get back to work, to do what I want to do, to be creative with people I like being creative with, and to visit family and friends. That would be at the top of the list.
Well, those are all the questions I have. I appreciate your answers greatly. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, it's just great being on with you, and I wish you the best. And I'm sure in years to come, you'll be very successful. And hopefully you'll say, hey, remember me? You old man? I'm doing it. I said I was going to do it, and I put my mind to it, and I'll say good for you.
Definitely will be. Again, I really appreciate this. I know you're a busy guy.
My pleasure, Keith. Best of luck with everything.
Best of luck. Have a great day, man.
You too. Cheers.